And here we go. Welcome into the Motivation Congregation podcast. My name is Michal Baruch. Thanks for being here. Thanks for waking up with us. If you are new to the show, well, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Be sure to rate and review the show. Really helps to grow the platform. And a bit of background information about what the Motivation Congregation is. Well, it's a daily podcast that talks Torah and Musar. Each talk is 3 to 5 minutes, centered around the week's parsha. Normally, things are kicked off with Rashi's commentary, with a very, very simple goal at the heart of every single talk, and that is to clearly define the basic principles of Jewish faith, or what we call here, Yesodos HaEmunah. Hopefully each talk you'll find inspiring. Each talk is crafted to motivate and to galvanize. And be sure to check out the weekly Parsha podcast. It's part of the TMC Podcast Network. It is a weekly podcast that gives us a bit more time, about 25 to 30 minutes weekly, to discuss one point of the Parsha. It gives us some extra time to develop the idea properly, to pepper it with proofs, and to clarify it, elucidate it, and hopefully come out with a clear and practical takeaway. If you enjoy the show, or you just wish for some financial stability and success along with a piece of paradise to look forward to, consider allocating your Meiser funds properly. Tithe your wealth to see future and enduring wealth. That's what we are told. So in your tithes, be sure to keep the Motivation Congregation in mind, and perhaps slide that scroller down to the bottom of the page and click the link and become a monthly supporter of the show. The Meiser money that you give and the charity that you give, the tzedakah, goes directly towards the aiding of the distribution and the creation of the Torah content here, and with a piece of the next world as a reward. Seems like a no-brainer. I mean, unless, of course, one is a professional scoffer, gossiper, or heretic, then maybe he wouldn't have a portion of the next world. But either way, consider allocating some of your Meiser money to the show. Lastly, be sure to subscribe to the Motivation Congregation on WhatsApp, where you can wake up on a highlight every morning and stream the daily talk. You can even have it sent directly to your phone, in which case you will then never forget to wake up on a highlight. Plus, with all the other motivational content, the in-depth Sefarim book reviews, the trips to the Sefarim stores, the behind-the-scenes looks, the bonus material, it has a lot going on, and perhaps you will enjoy it. So find the link in the show notes. And as always, thanks for waking up with us. I hope you find this episode enlightening and inspiring. And your listenership and engagement, it really means a lot. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Today begins the 3 weeks. It is Shiva, Asar, Betamuz, the beginning of the Beis Hamikdash, the time between straits, a stint of time on the Jewish calendar marked for remembrance and mourning, bookended by Shiva, Asar, Betamuz, and the eventual Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. And perhaps the same way that a doctor is less concerned about his patient's runny nose, because he's more focused about the cause of it, the root illness and bacteria, the infection in his patient's body, perhaps it would follow that while we are mourning what we have lost, we should also focus on the Siba, the sins that cause this destruction, so that we can seek to rectify it. Because after all, it is our job to rebuild the Beis Hamikdash through Tikkun Amidus, Halacha, Torah, and Avodas Hashem. So we begin in unraveling this puzzle for the cause of the destruction from a Mishnah in Masechta Taanis that tells us that on Shiva, Asar, Betamuz, 5 calamities and tragedies befell the Jewish people. Number 1, Moshe broke the Luchos. Number 2, the carbon hatomib ceased to be brought. Number 3, the walls of Yerushalayim were breached. Number 4, a posthumous burned Ezra's famous Sefer Torah. Number 5, an idol was placed inside the Beis Hamikdash. And I found in Rabbi Glatstein's great work on the 3 weeks an unbelievable vart from the great Aruch Laner, Rabbi Yaakov Etlinger, the Baal Mincha Shai, the Baal Bikurei Yaakov, the Baal Aruch Laner, and interestingly enough, this 19th century Gaon was one of the Rabbeim of Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch. Now he tells us that the 5 events here are not in a random order, but they are actually documentation of the sequence of the descent of a Jewish person, of a Jewish community, and of Klal Yisrael, God forbid. That it starts where a person will break his Luchos. It begins with a slacking off in one's steadfast devotion to Torah study, breaking the Luchos. Luchos represent Torah. I can miss today's Daf Yomi. I don't need to learn Be'iyun. Eventually that leads to a Batal HaTamid, and now there is no more davening. I don't need to go for a minyan. I can daven in the office. I'll put tefillin on at home. I don't like their nusach. I'll go here. There's Batal HaTamid. There's no more tefillah. Then it turns into breaching the walls. You are now without any sort of guardians on your walls, and things enter just pouring into your house, into your body, into the community. It's not a wonder why you select other sort of gross, putrid foods, because ultimately one is bereft of spirituality. His walls have been broken. 4th, a posthumous. He then burns the Torah openly, where now there's nothing left of this Jewish person. The community, even Lulav, even Hanukkah, even the Pesach Seder are now gone. It's been burned. And now lastly, God forbid, there is nothing, because there is a tselem. There is an idol inside of the Beis Hamikdash. Your Judaism, your Yahadus has been replaced by an idol. Your children marry non-Jews. There's nothing to be shown for your Yiddishkeit. Tragedy. And it all could have been prevented if a person would have stayed strong in his Torah learning. If he would have stayed in that Daf Yomi, he would have stayed in his Iyun. If he would have stuck to his Kovata Item La Torah. Reb Saadia Gaon tells us that the nation of the Jewish people are not a nation that is bound together by the same ideals and the same logic and the same morals, but no, Ein Ha'uma Ela B'Torah. We're only a nation because of the Torah. Commit to your Siddharim. Set yourself up chavrusas. Stay true to Torah study, because after that, things unravel rather quickly. And eventually, God forbid, it ends in an idol being placed in the Beis Hamikdash.